And here's the thing, and hear me out on this. When I ask the question, is it time for a 2-week national lockdown? Just bear with me. Matt Hancock, the Undertaker. Yeah, I wouldn't say this man is woeful and untrustworthy, but if he did go into the funeral business, I swear people would stop dying. It's that bad out there. You meet these kind of guys in life, blunderers. You know the kind of people. If Matt Hancock was in the building trade, he'd be the bloke who would knock the wrong wall down. You'd come home at the end of a busy day and see Matt standing there in the corner in his baggy overalls, sledgehammer in hand, standing there saying, "Oh, what, that wall? Yeah, that's him. But let's not get too carried away here. We're settled for the Undertaker. Now, you might have thought that his crimes of breathtaking idiocy could not be surpassed. You might have thought that when it came to the international Who Can Outbean Mr. Bean contest, nobody could take the gold from Mad Matt. Enter Andy Burnham into the equation. Mr. Burnham is seriously all over the place. He supports a national lockdown. He supports Keir Starmer. He wants the country to close for 2 or 3 weeks for a circuit breaker, except when the same idea is suggested by the Tories. Andy Burnham does not want Manchester in Tier 3, but he's fine if Sir Keir Starmer suggests it. He's serious, by the way, addressing the press yesterday and looking as if he just legged it from Piccadilly Station from a train-spotting shift. He said that Manchester was the sacrificial lamb of Boris Johnson's COVID strategy. Oddly, people in Bromley, by the way, said the same thing over the increased lockdown in London, but let's not let that get in the way of a healthy dose of victim culture. Andy cannot have it both ways. Mr. Burnham's position is as clear as mud. He opposes partial lockdown rules for Manchester, but favours a complete national lockdown. And this is what is telling. Just think about it this way. If Andy Burnham, all the local mayors say, actually what we want is full autonomy. We want to run our own affairs. We want to be in charge of all the budgets and all the decisions on our own patch. If Andy Burnham did have full autonomy right now, the legal right to make his own rules for Manchester, you absolutely know that he'd be standing there at his podium of self-importance, flagged by 2 local versions of Whitty and Valence, announcing a Tier 3 lockdown. You can almost hear him uttering those words. This is barking mad. He's now rolled over, by the way, in return for an extra few quid and a bag of sherbet bonbons. So yes, it is coming his way. He's cut some kind of deal. In fairness to Mr. Burnham, he's in good company. Our politicians, and I can't be the only one that is thinking this, are now next to useless. Where is the leadership? Where are those skilled lieutenants who could impart the message of the Prime Minister? Where is the Prime Minister, for that matter? This is a sham show. These people could not organise a revolution in a chicken shed. What is going on? No one is in charge. There's no coherence. There's no roadmap. And what they don't know, which, by the way, is plenty, they appear to just make up. Man, can these people lie to us. Boy, can they dance around the truth. I have no faith in politicians. I have pretty much zero faith. And I've always hung on, maybe like a fool, thinking that, just around the corner, someone is going to pitch up, waving a flag of wisdom and come yonder over the hill to tell us everything's going to be all right. And they've got the answer to what is going on. Do you trust them? 0344 499 1000. But anyway, I want to go back to something we talked about a couple of weeks ago before the Sage Committee had made their almost biblical-like proclamations on a lockdown, before Sir Keir Starmer had his lockdown epiphany, before Andy Burnham discombobulated on the steps of Manchester Town Hall. It was actually us on this programme that suggested a 2-week lockdown. Not, by the way, because we believed in it, but because we thought it might shut up the politicians once and for all. Give it a go, see what happens, and then we can watch the disaster unfold all over again. We are back to square one. 0344 499 1000. So bearing in mind, and we started the show yesterday with the words, let's be honest, all politicians, one way or another, all party leaders are in favour of lockdown. It might start off partial and regional. You can just, by midnight tonight, half the country will be in some kind of lockdown. That isn't the direction of travel we were hoping for in July when we began to ease the lockdown, but that's sort of where we are at the moment. Do we just go back to what we discussed a week ago on this programme and say, OK, if you are convinced this is going to work, then let's do it. Let's have the 2-week lockdown. 0344 499 1000. We are headed in that direction anyway, okay? So we know that London, Tier 2, Manchester, Liverpool, 3. Parts of the Northwest, similarly. The lockdown tiers are being elevated by the day at the moment, and you haven't got to be an epidemiologist or the Prime Minister, for that matter, to work out that the direction of travel is that we will have much more of this over the coming week. As we sit here this time next week, I think we can probably safely say, shall I say it? We'll all be in Tier 3 this time next week. I'm looking at the numbers here. Daily coronavirus cases have increased by around 10,000 to 27,900, according to the latest ONS estimates. Last week's estimate was 17,200 a day. The week before it was 12,000. Today, 28,000. There's also been a big jump in the number of people currently infected in England, rising from an estimated 224,000 to 336,000 in a week. That equates to a rise in 1 in 240 people, 1 in 100, 1 in 160, from 1 in 240 to 1 in 160. We know that you can play around with those numbers, by the way. And that's the angle, if you like, that makes it as bad as it could possibly be. Of course, we have to be suspicious of... These are people that, when they took a test, something in them said COVID-19. Doesn't mean they have coronavirus. It doesn't mean to say they are fighting for breath on a hospital bed. It's people mostly who will be unaware of either having it or have very few symptoms at all. That would be the average story. And, of course, all of this feeds into the kind of herd immunity argument that, there are more people that are getting this, healthy people carrying on, doing their thing, isolating but carrying on. Then we, of course, increase the chances that we begin that sort of herd immunity journey. And we were arguably already on it. It's just not being said. 0344 499 1000. So I'm just taking in all the information. I'm watching these people squabbling like ferrets in a sack, where you've got Joe Anderson. Been a bit quiet, Joe, hasn't he, for the last 3 days? What's happened to Joe? He's passed the conch over to Andy Burnham, hasn't he? I think he sent it over there from Liverpool to Manchester. Catch this, Andy. And then Andy caught it and decided that his incredulity at our Westminster Masters would be his turn. Sadiq's always had a bit of a battle down there in London. And, of course, it goes on. The story goes on. So let's do it. Let's just have the 2-weeker. And I quite like Boris Johnson now to just come to the podium this afternoon and say it's 2 weeks from 6 o'clock. Let's get it done with. Yeah, get it out the way. Because this thing's either going to work or it's not going to work. And if it's not going to work, then surely it is absolutely back to the drawing board to find another way around this. I'm reading some of the most hysterical predictions. There was one MP that was responding to the herd immunity, go for herd immunity, and he'd crunched the numbers, and he'd worked out through crunching the numbers that if we did go for herd immunity, we'd have something like 1 million people dead by Christmas. I mean, it was absolute cobblers, but by nobody's measure would that be the case. 0344 499 1000. Is it time then to just say, look, this is just a mess. This is a right royal mess. This is a sham show right now. It ain't going anywhere. It doesn't make any sense. I don't trust politicians. I think they are liars. I don't think they're in control. I don't think they're very good even at lying, by the way. And I have a sense now that if these people think that we are going in the right direction by locking the economy down, and Lord knows we've been over the list of the side effects of that, then do it then. Do it. Have your 2 weeks and let's see what happens. Would that work for you?